This is a photograph I shot with a film by Kodak that I finally tried for the first time. I'm actually not sure if you'd even recognize the name because it doesn't seem to be that widespread or even popular. In fact, I might go as far as saying that this is Kodak's most underrated film. And so in today's video I want to show you that film and take you with me on my first ever shoot with it to see what results we can get. Entre las sombras, desvaneciendo, siempre otro despedir, a veces más. So, the film I'm talking about is called Kodak Pro Image 100. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I've never seen this sold here in Austria. Even online, it doesn't appear often, however I did once see it for sale online and so I thought I should buy a roll because I've never tried it. But also, I feel like there's just not much talk about this film. We all know the Gold, the Portras, the Ultramax, the T-Max, and even Ektar gets more attention than Pro Image. So maybe this is just a thing here in Austria that it's not easy to find, but in my perception it appears to possibly be an underrated film. Or maybe it is just rubbish and so no one shoots it, I don't know. But that's why I decided to load my Pentax K1000 with this film that I've never tried before and head out to the edge of town and to a mountain, which both I haven't explored much yet, to see what results this film can produce. Alright, ready to go. It is mid-March, some trees are beginning to bloom, so I suppose spring is here, but I'm not quite letting go of winter yet. We're going up there to the snow on the mountain, to the little snow that is left from this season. Let's go. So I picked this day that appeared to be the least grey and least rainy of the week in the hopes that I can catch some sun. I can't know how it is to be where you... I think that was a horrible photo. Oh no. Well, yeah, the photo was much cooler in my head. However, I only had this brief moment to try it as the bus was passing by right next to me, and so I kind of just impulsively pressed the shutter and then felt the instant regret. So that's a pity, but it can happen. Let's move on. The lighting on this day was a little weird. I found it quite tough. It seemed so bright, more intense than on a normal sunny day somehow. Nevertheless, I decided to try a shot here of a pretty garden that I came across. I think the photo turned out alright. The lighting is indeed a little tricky, but I enjoyed the composition with the various elements coming in from the side and in a way framing the garden. So this is interesting. I hit the brakes, throw stones. Then I knew from my prior research that I was going to pass a cute train station, and this is why I found it, and I tried to find a neat way to photograph the scene. I think this turned out okay. I just feel like the foreground is a bit empty. I like that I have two people in the shot, but the placement is not ideal. I found you in another line. Notice all the time it takes. Next I wanted to get one more shot, this time more specifically of this part of the building. I like how in the composition another house with a similar shape is right above and behind the main subject. Here, I liked the balance between the telephone box on the left and the person with a child on the right, and the train tracks cutting in between. I think that translated quite nicely to the photograph. Here, I spotted a person working on the bush that covers their balcony, and I thought this could make for a very interesting photo of the scene. Here's the result, and I like it a lot. It's a busy frame, but in a good way, nice and full with many details to look at. And I love how the person sort of acts like an anchor in the composition as the key point of interest. The only thing I'm not sure about is whether the subject is a bit too small and a little too hidden, even though they're center framed.
I'm afraid that might be who I am. I came here to explain, but the car broke down again, and I walked home still falling all to pieces. I guess you never knew the hole I fell into, but it got its teeth in me and it won't let go. I thought I was something pretty special.
This is a pretty neat shot, I find. I really like how the placement worked out here with the subject in the middle but only the road behind them so that there's no disturbing overlapping of too many things. It feels nicely balanced. The only thing I would love to have, but obviously can't change, is to shoot the subject from the front and not from the back, but the situation didn't really give me that, unfortunately. I saw someone coming this way, and so I framed up a shot in the hopes for them to naturally just run into my photograph and add an extra point of interest. I think this turned out quite nicely. This time, however, there is a lot of overlapping, but I think it's still okay. On a side note, I love the framing that the tree on the left adds to the frame. As I was walking across the hill here, two kids suddenly came out of the park on their scooters about to ride down the hill. I at first thought this looked a little bit sketchy, but the kids had no fear and rode down just fine. In that moment, I got a shot. The result, I think, turned out great. I love how this one turned out. The photograph has such a nice depth to it because of the change in elevation, I think. The main subjects are of course the two kids on their scooters, but the football field on the right and the white building on the left rise higher up even though they are technically on a lower elevation. That somehow makes the frame look so well balanced and adds a lot of depth, maybe because we're otherwise used to seeing flat photos? I'm not sure, but anyhow, I'm very happy with this one. Then, before we continue, I want to show you something pretty cool. Have you always dreamt of lighting your videos or photos in some dreamy blue light? Or maybe you prefer something a bit more red? Well, anyway, as you know, for me to sustainably do my work here, it is really important to work with brands who sponsor my content, and today I am very excited to present to you a new sponsor on the channel, Zhiyun, who have just launched their new portable light, which they asked me to show you. This here is the Zhiyun Molus X60 RGB light. It's a small and portable, yet very capable light. And when I say small, I mean really small for the amount of light this can shine. It can output 60 watt. What? Anyway, it gets quite bright. Also, Zhiyun of course knows that filmmakers and photographers like the flexibility of using colourful lighting, and so you can easily switch between this mode, which lets you change the brightness and white balance, and an RGB mode, which lets you control the hue, saturation and brightness so that you can get exactly the colour you're looking for. Considering the small form factor, I can really see myself using this on photo shoots to spice up the photos with some colour. That's a style actually that I still find quite challenging yet really cool, so if you'd like to see me try something like this, let me know in the comments. Anyway, I think these lights are pretty cool and I really appreciate Zhiyun for sponsoring the video and supporting me. Thank you very much. You can check out the lights via the first link in the description. So this white building is what I thought was the lift station to head up the mountain. However, it turns out this is the old station and I had somehow missed the fact that a new one had been built that was another 20-minute walk away. So that was a little surprise but nothing dramatic, and so the walk continued. As a couple cyclists passed me, I decided to get a shot because they'd be a wonderful addition to a composition picturing the landscape here. And indeed, I think they make the photograph much better. Unfortunately though, they stayed right behind each other so that they look kind of stuck together because they are overlapped in the photo. Having them next to each other would have been even better, I think. So now that I've shown you about half of the role at this point, I think it's time to share my thoughts on the film. So far, I'm neither impressed nor disappointed. It seems fairly normal. One thing I should highlight as a positive is that it appears to handle overexposure quite well. Out of fear of losing too much shadow details, I was consistently overexposing my photos by 1 or 2 stops, or sometimes even a little more. And I can see that the negatives are very dark, meaning I burnt a lot of light onto them. And yet the scans look fine and I could pull down anything that was overexposed to a decent level to normalize the photos.
Oh, I forgot. I'm probably wearing the wrong shoes to go up a snowy mountain. Well, it's too late now.
And while film is in general a medium that can handle some overexposure, I wanted to highlight this specifically because I did feel like it held up better than what I'm used to from the likes of Kodak Gold. But of course, this is all just based off of my experience with these films, absolutely not properly tested. While we're at it and comparing this to Kodak Gold, I also feel like Kodak Gold is punchier and more saturated, so I suppose that makes Pro Image a good choice for anyone who wants something that is slightly more neutral.
There we go.
I got the lift all for myself. I actually don't know if I can really go all the way to the top with just the lifts without any skis, but we'll see. So yeah, by now I had made it to the mountain and was on my way up to see whether I can find some last scenes to shoot the rest of the roll. I really like this photo here. The overall lighting up on the mountain was not working out for me, however by positioning myself inside this entrance area, I could get this nice backlit look. However, the reason I actually shot this is, of course, the dog. That dog felt so out of place here, at least I'm not used to seeing dogs just roaming around the top of a ski lift station. But it seemed so content and at peace, minding its own business, and so I tried to capture that in this photograph, which I think worked out pretty nicely. So the lighting was a weird mix of really bright sunshine and then some shade that came through due to the passing clouds. I didn't see much worth shooting at first, but then as I came to the other side of the station, I spotted a guy in a wheelchair enjoying the view from the lift station. I thought this was a really sweet scene and it really showed the Innsbruck spirit. Everyone here is so in love with the mountains, and I love that even this person still makes the effort of coming here simply to sit at the edge of the lift station and take in the view. A minute or so later, the guy even stood up for a moment, and so I got one variation of the previous shot, and I really like this one. It tells a story just like the first one, but expands it even further by adding the fact that this person is the type of guy who also likes to stand up when possible to get a better view. Maybe dogs on a mountain is more of a thing here. It's my first winter in Innsbruck, so I'm still learning.
Run a few miles down a desert road. Stare too long at a 2-foot rose. It's fixing something that's been broke.
Then I had explored everything that I thought made sense with my shoes. Of course, going further would have been nice, but maybe not wise. And so I was heading back into the station here, thinking that I might just head down now. However, I was a little hesitant, and then this happened.
Hä? Aha, servus! Habt ihr gerade im Outfit überhaupt nicht erkannt?
This is a very Innsbruck thing to happen, I think. The chance of meeting a friend on the mountain is higher than in the city. This is a friend of mine who I've skied with a couple times this winter, and I knew he is in the snow a lot, like all the time, and so I was funnily unsurprised to bump into him here. I then decided to join him and his friends to the fun park where they wanted to practice to finish my roll there. I didn't know the park was in walking distance. A lot of fun standing around and watching, and occasionally getting a shot. However, you'll notice that a majority of these are from behind, which I think is a pity. However, I remember feeling pretty shy standing there because I clearly didn't quite belong there. You know, I wasn't wearing ski clothes, I had a backpack and a camera hanging on me and a GoPro on my head. So I guess that's why I was a bit shy. I think this one turned out quite interesting. I like that both pipes simultaneously have someone sliding across them in one shot. Anyway, that was the last shot, and so I made my way back to the lift station to head back down. Right, so that was a funny ending, and I'm really not sure if we actually got any good photos today. We'll see. I mean, you will have seen by now, but at the moment, just candidly right after finishing the roll, I'm not feeling very confident. Well, I suppose you've made up your mind already whether any of these were any good. Personally, I think it was a mixed shoot. It indeed didn't turn out as good as I was hoping for, but that is mainly because I was actually wanting to shoot some warm, sunny photos with this film. Nevertheless, I did end up with a few shots that I think turned out quite nicely. When it comes to the film, I'm not properly sold on it yet. I want to give it another try in sunnier weather, but so far I would probably rather just stick to Kodak Gold, which is a film I really love. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed coming along this day. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences on the film or the photographs. I had a good time, and maybe later this year I can try the film again on a sunnier day. Before saying goodbye, I would like to give a warm thank you to the lovely people supporting me and my work on Patreon. Thank you so much. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, tutorials or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop by the way, in case that is of interest to you, also in the description. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.